rise. We carve our path through hidden skies. Kabbalah's keys unlock the door to ancient powers forevermore. Through this path we sharpen the mind, focus the will and leave the past behind.
Hey everybody, welcome back for another deep dive. You ready to explore something really interesting today?
Always.
This time we're going to be taking a look at magic, specifically chaos magic.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah, through Philip Harper's book, The Ritual Chaos Magic Workbook.
A classic.
So whether you're someone who's been practicing magic for a while or you're just curious about this whole world, this deep dive is for you. We're going to try to unpack the core principles of chaos magic. Look at some techniques.
Oh.
And maybe even spark a little magical inspiration in you along the way.
Sounds great.
So to help us navigate all this, we have our expert guide here,
Happy to be here.
who's going to be sharing all their insights and experience with us.
I'm excited for this one. This book is seriously like a treasure chest
Oh,
of like practical magic, you know?
nice.
Blends those ancient traditions with that modern kind of DIY spirit.
I like that.
Yeah.
So let's start with the basics. When we say magic, what exactly do we mean here?
Okay.
I mean, we're not talking about pulling rabbits out of hats, are we?
Yeah, no. Not quite. Although that would be pretty cool.
Right.
Harper actually starts with Crowley's famous definition of magic.
Oh, yeah.
The science and art of causing change to occur in conformity with will.
Okay.
But then he adds his own little spin on it, describing magic as like the soul's journey to become more than human.
I like that. It's a very poetic way of putting it.
Yeah.
So it's more about pushing boundaries, exploring your potential, shaping your reality.
Yeah. With intention.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's so interesting because it really makes you think about how our own willpower is already influencing our actions every day.
Right.
So is chaos magic like taking that to another level?
Exactly. It's like harnessing that power,
Okay.
you know, that we all have within us.
Mm-hmm.
And Harper really emphasizes that blend of like science, art, will, and change in magical practice.
Interesting.
He even points out how historical figures like Isaac Newton
Oh, wow.
were super into alchemy, which was like the precursor to modern chemistry.
Oh, wow. I never really thought about that.
Yeah. It's fascinating how science and magic were so intertwined back then. And chaos magic seems to kind of tap back into that connection.
Like those alchemists who were always trying to turn lead into gold.
Exactly.
Maybe they were onto something.
Just not in the way they expected.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So Harper also dives into these different models of magic.
He does.
He talks about the spirit model.
Yeah. Working with supernatural beings.
Okay, the energy model.
Focused on manipulating energy.
Okay, and the psychological model.
Right, which kind of blends elements of both.
Okay, got it.
Drawing on concepts from like Carl Jung and the subconscious.
So there's room for different perspectives,
Absolutely.
which makes a lot of sense.
You can choose the one that works best for you.
Yeah, like choosing the framework
Yeah,
that works for you.
exactly.
Now, I'm curious about how chaos magic differs from traditional Western magic.
Okay.
What makes it unique?
So think of classical Western magic, sometimes called Hermetic magic,
Okay.
like a symphony. It's structured hierarchical with a very specific goal in mind, the great work.
And what is that?
It's basically uniting with your higher genius
Oh, well.
or your holy guardian angel.
Okay.
There's a strong sense of lineage and tradition.
Got it. So like the Golden Dawn,
Yes.
Crowley figures like that.
Dion Fortune. Big names.
So there's a very specific path to follow.
Right. But then you have chaos magic,
Okay.
which popped up in the late 1970s
Oh, wow.
with folks like Peter J. Carroll and Ray Sherwin.
Okay.
And this is more like a jazz improvisation session.
Okay.
It's experimental DIY.
Okay. I like that.
You draw inspiration from whatever you want,
Mm-hmm.
and you find what works best for you.
So if classical Western magic is like following a score,
Yeah.
chaos magic is like riffing
Yes.
and experimenting.
Finding your own sound.
I like that analogy.
It's all about practicality, personal experience, and using altered states of consciousness
Whoa.
to unlock your magical abilities.
That sounds intense.
They can.
So it challenges those ideas of like absolute truths
It does.
and encourages you to kind of explore different belief systems.
Absolutely. Find what resonates with you.
Okay.
So like Liber Null and Psychonaut
Those are some of the key texts.
by Peter J. Carroll.
Yeah. Right.
They introduce techniques like sigil creation, working with servitors,
Okay.
and achieving gnosis,
Which is
that altered state of consciousness
Okay,
for
right.
magical work.
Now you mentioned basic magical training.
Yes.
What does that involve?
All right, so picture this. Not quite as physically demanding
Okay.
as like a martial arts movie montage,
Okay.
but it does require some mental discipline
Okay.
and focus.
That's it.
Much like yoga or meditation,
Okay.
Harper introduces something called Liber MMM.
Liber MM.
It's a training program inspired by yoga techniques,
like
asana pranayama and pratyahara.
Okay. Now break those down for me. I'm not a yoga master.
No worries. So asana is all about holding those specific postures
Okay.
to achieve stillness of the body. Pranayama focuses on controlling your breath, becoming aware of your breathing patterns,
Okay.
and consciously regulating them.
Got it.
And pratyahara, that's about withdrawing the senses,
Interesting.
turning your attention inward, achieving mental stillness.
So it's all about gaining control over your mind and body
Yes,
before you dive into the magical work.
exactly. If you can't control your own mind,
Right.
how can you expect to influence anything else?
That's a good point. It's like trying to paint a masterpiece
Right.
while doing a handstand on a unicycle.
You need that solid foundation.
Yeah. So let's talk about like the practical setup
Okay.
for magical practice.
All right.
Do I need to go out and buy a cauldron and a crystal ball
You know what?
or all those fancy tools?
Not necessarily.
Mhm.
Harper dispels that myth right away.
Phew.
You don't need a ton of expensive tools
Oh, God.
or a dedicated space to practice magic.
So I could technically practice magic anywhere.
Well, maybe not anywhere. But the important thing is creating a sacred space.
Okay.
Your magical temple.
And that could just be like a corner in my room.
Exactly.
Okay. So it's more with the mental space
Yeah.
than the physical surroundings.
Where with the energy you cultivate.
But tools can be helpful.
They can be,
Right.
but they're not essential.
Okay. So what kind of tools are we talking about here?
Well, Harper introduces the 4 elemental tools.
Okay.
The fire wand,
Okay.
air dagger, water cup,
Hmm.
and earth pentacle.
Okay, representing the 4 elements.
Exactly.
And can I like buy these? Or?
You can, but Harper gives instructions on how to make them yourself.
Oh,
God's a personal touch,
yeah. I like that.
you know?
Makes it more meaningful. It's like crafting your own magical toolkit.
Exactly. He even tells this story about someone who touched his wand and then had terrible nightmares.
Whoa. Adds a whole other level.
It does to those tools.
Right,
You know,
yeah.
the energy they hold.
Okay, so you make your tools
Yes.
and then you have to consecrate them.
Right. Imbue them with your energy and intention.
So it's like establishing a connection with them.
Exactly.
Now, I'm curious about banishing rituals.
Okay.
What's the purpose of those?
All right. So banishing rituals,
Yeah.
they have a few purposes.
Okay.
They clear a space of unwanted energies, create a protective barrier around you.
Like a force field?
Kind of.
Okay.
And they help shift your mindset
Okay.
from the mundane to the magical.
So it's like setting the stage.
Yeah. It's like saying, okay, everyday thoughts, step aside.
Right.
It's magic time.
I like that. So what are some examples of banishing rituals?
So there's the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram.
Okay. The LBRP.
The LBRP, a classic,
Okay.
used in a lot of Western magical traditions.
Mm-hmm.
It involves visualizing pentagrams,
Okay.
invoking divine names, and calling upon archangels for protection.
That sounds pretty intense.
It can be.
Like a movie.
But Harper provides some tips for learning it.
Oh, good.
You know, break it down into smaller parts.
Okay.
Use cheat sheets.
Hmm.
Practice regularly.
Okay.
He also presents the Shazam banishing ritual.
Wait, Shazam? Like the superhero?
That's the one.
That's amazing.
It's a simpler chaos magic alternative.
Okay. I love how chaos magic just incorporates these modern elements.
Yeah, makes it more relatable.
Right.
Harper even suggests banishing with laughter or other seemingly nonsensical methods
Oh, wow.
to break mental fixations
Okay.
and return to a grounded state of mind.
So that's not always about being super serious.
Not at all.
Sometimes it's about just shifting your energy
Yeah,
in a playful way.
finding what works for you.
Okay.
Hi everyone! Next week we will have 3 podcasts about very interesting books on Chaos Magic because, although they are not specific lines, they are very useful to those who are willing to use them, both in concrete jungles and in nature. This is here at...
Chaos Magic time.
So are you ready to move on to sigils?
Let's do it.
That's one of the things I'm most curious about.
Sigil magic is where it's at.
All right. Bring on the sigils.
All right. Okay, so sigils,
Yeah.
think of them as like visual symbols
Oh.
that encode your magical intention. They work by bypassing your conscious mind.
Okay.
That lust of result, you know,
Yeah.
that can sometimes get in the way.
Right.
And they allow your subconscious mind to
So-
take over and manifest your desire.
So it's like planting a seed in your subconscious
Yeah.
and letting it grow
Exactly.
without all those thoughts getting in the way.
Without all that mental chatter. Yeah.
I like that. So how do you actually create a sigil?
Okay, so Harper outlines 3 types:
Okay.
word sigils,
Okay.
pictorial sigils, and magical spells.
What are those?
They're basically acoustic sigils.
Okay.
So for word sigils,
Yeah.
you start with a statement of your desire.
Okay.
You remove any duplicate letters,
Mm-hmm.
and then you combine the remaining letters
Okay.
into a unique symbol.
So you're kind of creating your own magical alphabet.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay.
Then you have to charge it.
Okay. How do you do that?
You activate the sigil
Okay.
by entering an altered state of consciousness.
And how do you do that?
This could be through meditation,
Oh.
intense emotion,
Mm-hmm.
or even physical activities like dance.
So you really have to like pour your intention into it.
Yes. You got to infuse the sigil with your desire.
Okay.
And then what?
And then you lose the sigil.
What do you mean lose it?
You destroy it. Forget about it.
Okay.
Or place it somewhere. You won't consciously notice it.
So you're like releasing it into the universe
Exactly.
and letting it do its work.
Trusting the process.
Letting go of that lust of result.
Yes.
It reminds me of setting intentions in meditation.
Oh, yeah.
You focus on the intention and then you release it
Mm-hmm.
and trust that it will manifest.
It's all about that trust.
Have you ever worked with sigils yourself?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you had any cool experiences with them?
Oh, tons.
Oh.
Tell me one.
Okay, so I was having trouble sleeping once.
Oh, yeah.
You
yeah.
know?
Oh, we've all been there.
So I created a sigil for restful sleep.
Okay.
Charged it during meditation, and then I tucked it under my pillow.
Wow.
I slept like a log that night.
No way.
I'm telling you.
It worked.
Could have been a coincidence.
Oh, yeah.
But I like to think the sigil had something to do with it.
I mean, why not, right?
Exactly.
What about you?
Oh, I've had some wild experiences.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Once I used a sigil to find a lost item.
And you found it?
It turned up in the most unexpected place.
No way.
I'm serious. It was like the universe was playing a game with me.
That's so cool.
The power of the subconscious mind, you know.
That's amazing.
So what other techniques are you curious about?
Well, I've always been kind of intrigued by tarot,
Okay.
but also a little intimidated by it.
Yeah, I get it. It can seem mysterious.
Yeah.
But Harper presents it in a really accessible way.
Okay.
He says it's not about predicting the future with
Ah.
like absolute certainty.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about gathering intelligence
Okay.
and navigating potential challenges.
So it's more about gaining insights and guidance than like trying to see into a crystal ball.
It's not fortune telling.
Huh.
It's about understanding yourself better.
Okay. So tell me more about the tarot deck.
All right, so you've got the major arcana,
Okay.
the minor arcana,
Mm-hmm.
and the 4 suits.
And what do those represent?
Each suit represents an element.
Oh, cool.
And Harper makes a really important point.
What's that?
There are no bad cards in the tarot.
That's good to hear. Because I always thought some cards were like bad omens.
It's easy to get caught up in the negative interpretations,
Yeah.
but really it's all about perspective.
Oh.
You have to understand the cards
Mhm.
within the context of your question
All
and
right.
your situation.
It's like a mirror,
Exactly.
reflecting your current state.
Showing you potential paths and challenges
Yeah. It's a tool for self-reflection.
and decision making.
I like that perspective.
It's empowering.
Yeah. So are you ready to get creative?
Always.
Because Harper talks about ritual design.
It does.
He does. And how you don't have to just follow a recipe.
No. You can create your own personalized rituals.
Okay, I'm into that.
Yeah.
So what are some of the approaches he outlines?
Okay, so you can use rituals straight from a book.
Classic.
You can tweak and adapt existing rituals.
Right.
You can build rituals from scratch
Hmm.
using your own personal symbols and materials.
Nice.
Or you can experiment with what he calls silly sorcery.
Silly sorcery. What's that?
It's basically choosing a random symbol set
Okay.
to represent your intention
Hmm.
and then performing a ritualistic action.
That sounds kind of fun.
It can be.
It's like saying, if I do this specific action while focusing on my intention, it will manifest.
Yeah.
So it's about breaking free from those rigid structures.
Embracing a more playful approach.
Yeah. Like how kids play.
Oh,
They create their own worlds and rules
Exactly.
with such conviction.
It's like tapping back into that childlike wonder.
Exactly.
And Harper gives you a bunch of resources for finding inspiration for rituals.
Like what?
Grimoires, books of correspondences, personal experiences, even pop culture.
So it's all about finding what speaks to you.
And crafting your own magical language.
I love that. Now, what about servitors?
Servitors.
I'm really curious about those.
It's like having your own magical assistant.
Right.
Yeah. They can handle complex tasks
Okay.
and provide magical assistance.
So how do you create one?
So first you define its purpose.
Okay.
Then you develop a profile
Okay.
with symbols and images.
Mhm.
You give it a sigil and a name.
Wow.
You might even consider things like lifespan
Okay.
and a material base,
What do you mean by that?
like a statue or an object.
So it's like giving birth to a magical being,
In a way.
like those genie stories.
Kind of.
But instead of rubbing a lamp,
Yeah.
you're consciously creating it.
Exactly. And you can use them for all sorts of things.
Like what?
Complex enchantments, divination, magical defense,
Wow.
even pure magic, which he calls octarine.
Octarine.
Yeah, it's a whole other thing. You can even create a healing servitor.
Really?
Or connect with one that already exists.
So the possibilities are pretty much endless.
They are.
You could create a servitor for anything.
But they require care and feeding.
Like a pet.
Kinda. You need to acknowledge them,
Okay.
offer them rewards,
Mhm.
and discipline them if they stray from their purpose.
So it's a relationship?
It is.
You have to cultivate it.
Exactly. And there can be challenges.
Like
Servitors can evolve,
Oh, wow.
become independent,
Really?
or even turn harmful.
That's a little scary.
It's a reminder to be responsible
Yeah.
when you're creating and managing them.
So how do you end a servitor's lifespan?
There are a few ways: destruction, natural death,
Yeah.
reincarnation, or even reassignment to a new task.
So they have a whole life cycle.
They do.
It's pretty amazing.
And he even warns about servitors that can become like energy vampires.
Energy vampires.
Yeah, draining energy from their creators.
Now, there are risks involved.
There are. But he gives you all the tools to manage those risks.
To illustrate the process.
Yeah.
Harper shares an example of a healing servitor he created.
Mm-hmm. He walks you through the whole thing.
That's so helpful.
It is. It really demystifies the whole process,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I like that he makes it accessible.
He's a great teacher.
Yeah.
We are and live here to enjoy life. Avoiding these means avoiding being ourselves. One of the ways people like to live is by learning more. And that's why I make these podcasts about books and about Chaos Magic. Here in Brazil, we are all educated to be cheap. That hard education to be socially accepted. So I thought that the popular objection to Chaos Magic would be very intense. I was wrong. Here people are eager to learn and practice things that work for us Brazilians. It's not different outside of Brazil, but since English is not our native language, communication is a bit rigid. Anyway, I now make podcasts in English because just as many other people also liked them. I believe it is important to use these podcasts as a basis for at least Chaos Magic group to start discussions about them. However, I must point out that groups that are not practitioners of Chaos Magic will be very surprised when they practice these works that I recommended. And also I will recommend. Let's keep our hunger for learning strong here in Brazil or anywhere on the world. Hugs.
So the last chapter, Harper talks about magical orders.
Oh, yeah.
Is it essential to join a magical order to practice magic?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And one that a lot of people ask.
Yeah.
Harper actually challenges the idea of solitary practice.
He does.
He does. He advocates for the benefits of joining an order.
So he thinks there's value in community
Absolutely.
and shared learning.
It's a supportive environment
Okay.
for learning, growth, and exploration.
Like finding your magical tribe.
Exactly.
So what kinds of orders are out there?
Oh, there are tons. Thelemic Golden Dawn, Chaos Magic,
Wow.
even satanic or Luciferian traditions.
So there's a whole spectrum
Yeah.
of magical communities.
Yeah. It's amazing how diverse the world of magic is.
Yeah, it speaks to how we as humans
Mm-hmm.
seek to connect with the mystical.
The unknown.
Have you ever been part of a magical order?
You know what?
Why?
That's a story for another time.
Oh, come on.
I'm just messing with you.
You're killing me.
I've dabbled in a few groups over the years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What kind of groups?
Well, I've dabbled in a few groups over the years.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's fascinating to see how group dynamics can, like, amplify magical workings.
Yeah,
You know?
makes sense.
But it's also important to find a group where you feel comfortable.
Right, where you feel a sense of belonging,
Exactly.
a shared purpose.
So what kind of groups did you explore?
One group I connected with was really into thelemic rituals,
Okay.
drawing a lot from Crowley's work.
Oh, wow.
It was intense.
I bet.
Delving into all that symbolism and those complex rituals.
Mm.
But I gotta say,
Yeah.
it was a little too structured for me,
Okay.
a bit too hierarchical, so you're more drawn to the fluidity of chaos magic.
Yeah, I like being able to experiment,
Right.
you know,
Okay.
find my own way.
So did you find a group that was more your style?
I did. I found a group that was all about chaos magic.
Nice.
We'd get together and experiment with sigil creation,
Ooh.
servitor work.
Mm-hmm.
We even designed rituals using glow sticks and techno music.
Ooh, that sounds like a party.
It was wild.
I bet. Any memorable experiences from that group?
Oh, so many.
Give me one.
Okay. So one time we did this group ritual
Hey.
where we created a servitor
Okay.
to help us navigate a period of like major change.
Okay.
We each contributed symbols, images, intentions,
Wow.
and then we charged the servitor with this powerful group visualization.
I can only imagine the energy in that room.
It was incredible. You could feel the energy building
Wow.
as the entity took form.
That's amazing.
Mm,
It really highlights the potential of group magic.
it does.
When people come together
Yeah.
with a shared intention.
It's like magic amplified.
So what's your overall perspective on joining a magical order?
I think it's worth exploring,
Okay.
especially if you're starting out.
Mm-hmm.
It can provide so much support and guidance,
Right.
but you got to find a group that resonates with you.
Yeah. Find your people.
Exactly.
Well, this has been an incredible journey,
It has.
exploring chaos magic.
So much to learn.
I'm feeling really inspired,
Me too.
and I hope our listeners are too.
I hope so.
Harper's book is a fantastic guide.
It is.
For anyone who's curious about magic,
Especially chaos magic.
it's practical,
Yeah.
and it really empowers you.
To create your own path.
A huge thanks to you for sharing your insights and expertise with us.
That's been my pleasure.
And to our listeners,
Mm-hmm.
keep exploring
Keep experimenting.
and never underestimate the power of your own magic.
May your sigils be potent.
And your servitors be benevolent.
Until next time.
Happy magic making.
Vanishing shadows will light the way. Chaos will guide us night and day. Whoa. Creating servitor, shaping the will. In the flow of magic, we are still. Tarot's whispers reveal the path. Divine in the chaos, no need for wrath. Initiate the journey, take the first step. In the realms of magic, we're not just adept to